Oiwa was a beautiful young woman who lived in a small town in Japan. Her boyfriend's name was Aemon, and although he didn't have much money, Oiwa loved him very much. She was overjoyed when her childhood sweetheart asked her to marry him. And after the wedding, they moved in together, and the happy couple were soon expecting a baby. Oiwa didn't care much that Aemon was poor, but as time went on, he became angry and depressed about his lack of prospects. Aemon soon grew to hate his happy young wife and started an affair with a rich young woman named Oume. He romanced her for months, and eventually she fell in love with him, despite his poverty and the fact that he was already married. One day, Oume's father came to see Aemon. He told Aemon what a shame it was that he was already married, because his daughter loved him so much. The father went on to tell him all the ways that he could ensure his future son-in-law's wealth and success, and Aemon listened intently. Aemon spent a great deal of time thinking about what Oume's father had told him, and an evil plot began to form in his mind. He decided that the only way he could marry Oume was to somehow get rid of Oiwa and her unborn child. He thought that the easiest way to do this was to secretly poison Oiwa and make it look like she died of natural causes. Poor Oiwa was totally ignorant of her husband's murderous plans. Blissfully unaware of the fate that was about to befall her, she continued to happily prepare for the birth of their baby. One evening, when Oiwa and Aemon were sitting down to eat dinner, she noticed that her husband was acting quiet and nervous. She encouraged him to eat his dinner, but he would not touch his food. He yelled at Oiwa and told her to stop fretting and eat her own meal. She needed to be strong for the baby, he said, and Oiwa finally gave up, trying to tempt Aemon's appetite, and started to eat her dinner. It wasn't long before she felt very sick. Aemon watched her coldly as the poison did its work, not offering her any help or comfort. But Oiwa did not die right away. Her beautiful face became disfigured from the poison first. Then, she slipped into unconsciousness. Aemon was too much of a coward to finish the job he started, so he put Oiwa's lifeless body in bed. Eventually, Oiwa awoke from her coma, remembering nothing of the poisoning. She had lost her baby, and her face was ugly and terrible, but Oiwa would live. Aemon was desperate. He played the part of the concerned husband, but he was looking for any possible way to rid himself of his wife. One evening, he took Oiwa for a long walk. They made their way to a cliff, and Aemon looked around to see if anyone was nearby. No one was in sight. Aemon pushed Oiwa off the ledge. Her broken body was recovered, and Aemon gave her the best funeral he could afford, spending all of his money in a great show of marital devotion. Of course, Aemon knew his money troubles were only temporary now that Oiwa was gone. Thinking his worries were over, Aemon planned his wedding to Oume. The night before the wedding was to take place, Aemon noticed his bedside lamp was dimming. He looked at it curiously as it seemed to be changing. The disfigured face of Oiwa suddenly replaced the lamp, growing larger and larger in the room. Betrayal, it hissed. Aemon grabbed a stick and swung at the face, but Oiwa disappeared, and the lamp smashed and fell to the floor. Aemon thought he had heard the faint laughter of a woman from outside. Shaken, Aemon convinced himself that the vision was simply the result of drinking too much alcohol earlier in the evening, and went to bed. The next day, Aemon had forgotten all about the specter from the night before, and he and Oume were wed. When he lifted her veil, however, her beautiful young face was replaced with Oiwa's horrible visage. Betrayal, she hissed. The horrified Aemon drew his sword and swung it at the ghostly apparition, cutting Oiwa's head off. The severed head rolled down the aisle of the church, but when it came to a stop, it was Oume's face and not Oiwa's. He heard the faint sound of laughter again. Aemon ran into his tiny house, looking for a place to hide. There was a pounding at the door, and Oume's grandfather demanded that he opened it. When Aemon did so, Oiwa was standing there. Betrayal, she hissed again. Once again, Aemon tried to decapitate her, but when his sword finished its work, it was Oume's grandfather that lay dead. Aemon ran for the cliffs, Oiwa's laughter following him. He stopped at the edge, looking over as if rethinking his decision. Of course, it didn't matter. as passersby reported seeing a woman push Yaemon over the edge, before jumping in after him, laughing all the way down. Those who take light promises they make to those they love are people who find little lasting satisfaction in life. Aemon learned this the hard way, after betraying his faithful wife. Be sure not to follow suit, or you may hear the laugh of Oiwa's vengeful spirit as well.